Hopefully we can scare him away. Sunday night, Sunday evening. Got a lot done today. Had to hammer away on that jackhammer to bust up all those concrete pads that were out back. I couldn't imagine doing that all day, every day. That would shred your frickin' shoulders and arms and hands apart, but got it done. I want to get that rented jackhammer back tomorrow. But anyway, quick note. I've got a few quick notes. I have received a lot of gifts from a lot of people, and I absolutely appreciate it. The amount of kind people here is almost overwhelming. There's so many kind people here, and I've said it before, I shared it before. I don't know why. I'm just not that comfortable with gifts. They kind of make me feel a little awkward. I don't know why, and I don't encourage it. I don't want people to send me stuff. I mean, when people email me and say, I want to send you something. Okay, I don't know what they're sending me. I haven't a clue. I usually just say, okay, make sure it doesn't explode. I don't know if it's going to be information or what, you know what I mean? And I have a handful of items that have arrived here, just so you know, they've arrived, I've got them, but I haven't opened them. And they're sitting up in the loft office where I had all my stuff. They're out of sight, out of mind, and I'm always busy, and I keep forgetting to go open them up. And I'm obviously not, gifts just make me feel kind of awkward, okay, guys? And I will get them opened up. I just feel a little awkward, and especially doing it in front of a camera. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, but I need to acknowledge the people who have been very kind and sent me items. It's very, very kind and I appreciate it. I'm just not big on the receiving gifts, okay? But on that note, somebody sent me something I did open up. It came in the mail. We stopped the mailbox, came in the mail. Check this out, I videotaped it. I don't know how they made it. It's pretty incredible talent. However it's done, but it's it's sent by, check it out here. I think it says Mount Hood. She wrote me down the note, so it's from a man named Greg Nemechek. Greg, I appreciate you, man. That was quite the skills you have to make what you made. It's a 3D printed model of Mount Hood with the club names and various names for Sasquatch on it. That's a pretty crazy item, man. I absolutely appreciate you sending that to me. It's quite the gift, and there's a lot of weight to it. I don't know how you did it. 3D printer. I'm familiar with 3D printing, but I didn't know you could 3D print out of metal. I thought a 3D printer was plastic. Pretty wild to watch this creation come up off the bench. Crazy. Anyway, there you go. I thought I'd share that with you guys. I just opened that up, and I do have a handful of other things I need to open up, and I will. And I appreciate all of you who have been so kind to me. I appreciate you a lot. Thank you. Now, moving along before I forget, getting to the Edgar topic, and Edgar is a scientist, and he has colleagues who are scientists, and his colleagues who have been deeply involved with the cryptid topics. They know a lot. And like I said earlier, it doesn't make sense to me to share various chapters or pages out of what I have, because I need time to line it all up to make sense to deliver to you. And I keep getting promised more items, and I'm waiting, and I wait, and then I get in touch with him again finally, and then he promises me a bunch of other things, and I'm waiting, and I'm like, holy cow, and I get carried on doing other items and busy with other things. And that department is not my sole focus, obviously. Okay, but from what and then I'll go and I'll share something with you guys from the top of my memory, like I did the day before yesterday, about the bear DNA. Now here's the part. But here's the other part that I forgot to share, and that's why I don't like to share. I shouldn't. I just keep my mouth shut. I'm a bit of an open book, and I'll ramble on and share with you guys what I know, what I can, when I do, and I don't script it, I don't think about it before I sit here and do it. But the bear DNA, they've proven that there has been manipulation with our DNA in the past. Somebody, somewhere, has intentionally manipulated our DNA. Many of you are not going to accept that fact. Oh well. Don't shoot the messenger either, alright? But this is the true facts that seem to be coming forward, not just from one group of scientists, but numerous. It's the fact that, yes, in the past, our DNA has been successfully crossed with, quote, beasts, end quote. Sounds pretty bizarre, a little much to take, but what do you do about that, right? What do you do? The truth is, it's a known fact that the truth is going to be far more harder to accept than non-truth when it comes to human beings. That's all there is to it. Now, getting back to what they shared with me it was just in a mention from Edgar while we conversed, saying that the scientists have found that the male DNA is made up of a handful of items, including, it's either what they discovered, it's either an extinct brown bear species or even possibly a still existing one, but either way, there was animal DNA found in the father's side of the Sasquatch DNA. Okay, guys? But they also said that there's something missing. There's still something missing that they do not know what it is. Okay? And that was what I was trying to get out of my mouth the day before yesterday. I wasn't saying that. Yep, the other half of the DNA is bears. Well, there's a lot more to it than just that. They have found that amongst other items in the male DNA, they had said, quote, that they are so certain that there is some bear, past prehistoric brown bear, whatever it is mixed in, and they are to the point that they are just only arguing about whether or not the species of bear DNA that is mixed in there is existing still or not. The bear part is accepted across the board with this group of scientists. There you go. There's the point where they're just not sure which one it is or was. Okay? Sounds a little bit much to take, but this whole topic is a bit much to take, right? Anyway, that does give me more incentive to get my ass in gear and carve out some time to hit and wrangle up all those emails, put them all together, make them deliverable to you so you're up to speed with what I've had shared with me, okay? And in the meantime, there are other people who have some very hard to accept facts that they have discovered from numerous DNA samples as well. That's their deal. Yes, they're in contact with me, and it's completely their deal. How and when they're going to share with all you is yet to be known, but they're going to. All right? So there you go. Now, I hope that helps in a way until I can get all of my shit together and get it all delivered to you in one big, long, detailed delivery. Yesterday, the hike day. Where we hiked yesterday was near the Carmana. You can Google up the Carmana on Vancouver Island. So I'm just looking at a big wasp on the floor there. And there's been a lot, just a pile of activity goes on around where we were. That was about probably, I don't know, to get to where we were is about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive on gravel roads, intertwining all over the place. To get into these patches of timber which have never been logged, that run the whole valley bottom. And there's a lot of game in there, obviously. And that's where I left 2 trail cameras last October. But now I'm going to go back in there and I'm going to leave a lot of cameras in there across the whole valley. What I'm going to do in that valley is I'm going to do a line of, because there's so much game walking up and down that's a big ass wasp. Hold on a minute. Got him. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a line of trail cameras because the game trails are on either side of that river, and it's both sides of the river has various big swaths of never before logged timber, and it's pretty remote. And I'm going to put a trail of cameras across the valley like this, so through the timber on various game trails going lengthwise. So I'm going to have a trail camera on each one across the river up the other side, and then I might go down a couple miles and then do another line. And then a couple more miles to do another line. And I'll really get an idea what kind of game's running around there. That's what I'm going to do later on this year before the fall. So when I did go in there yesterday, I don't say anything to Sarah about this topic while we're going in there. I don't need to. But yeah, I am listening and looking. Excuse me, especially watching the dog the whole time. Because I don't need to hear any wood knocking when I go in there, especially with Sarah there, the dog fine. But I'm not going to stop. I wanted to also show that as an example of I'm not going to stop going. I'm not going to. I'm going to go in there innocent with honest intentions. We're just doing what we're doing. I'm not trying to find some potential very shy, nervous, probably anxiety-filled beings. And I want them to know that I'm not intentionally trying to find you. I'm not. I don't need a picture of you. I don't need a videotape of you. I don't need to tell anybody where you are. I don't need anything to do with you. I don't need to be in your life, and I don't need you in my life. I'm just here to enjoy the outdoors, hike through the timber, look for elk antlers, look at the game trails, see what lives there, and leave some trail cameras up to catch wildlife on them. So, it worked so far. Right? There is no... I thought I heard some whistles, maybe at first, but I think it's probably a bird. I may have found a footprint in the mud that was filled in from quite some time ago, but it's classic shape, whatever. I looked at a videotape for the hell of it to keep on going. I'm good. So there you go. But I put the GoPro on me, and I just hit record, and I recorded the whole hike. And maybe I'll do that again. Maybe, possibly. We'll see. So there you go. I hope all that little babble clears up something for somebody. Maybe. Now, what am I doing now? Now, I'm going to get some more voices heard. I get to sit down for a minute, finally, and relax, and get some shares going. I put together the other chair I have for this room for when I finally get somebody in here that wants to talk about some information and knowledge they need to get out to the rest of the people. I got a lot done today. Now, this is titled My Bigfoot Encounter, 2018 to 2023. Dear Steve, I hope this email finds you and Sarah happy and healthy. I watch your YouTube channel all the time. I really don't want my name or email shared. People know how to be unkind. I live in the upper part of the country. I live on a good many of acres, and it is virgin land. Been in the family since the late 1800s. To my knowledge, no one else other than my family has ever lived here. I'm a city girl, married into the family 22 years ago. My husband and I live alone here. I love it here. It is beautiful. In April of 2018, I bought a trail camera because I have seen several very large cat tracks that were too big to be a bobcat. But no one believed me that it was possible that we had a cougar in the area. My grandmother was an Oklahoma Indian, so I'm pretty good at spotting animal tracks. I did capture that cat one night on one of our trails, and then saw him or her in person early one morning. My husband saw it as well. However, a few days later, I captured something else on camera, but it wasn't really clear. But after studying it at length, I am convinced it is one of the beings you talk about. The trail camera never worked again after that. If you like, I can send you the pictures. Sometimes when I show it, people see it right away. Others say they don't. The thing is elusive. It was not just the camera picture that convinced me. There have been night calls that are unidentifiable and knocks in the middle of the night around my house. I went for a walk this spring with my husband. He's cleared some paths around the place. I was taking a video of how pretty he had cleared certain areas when I accidentally discovered a snapshot. Later, when I was reviewing my video, I screenshot something unusual. It is a screenshot of what I think is a female and a young one hiding behind her. Since then, I've been noticing odd tree structures around and certain places that seem to be shelters constructed that could not have possible been done by any other animal. Do not share this next thing I'm about to tell you because if people share it will think I'm crazy. Alright? Hold on a minute. Alright, so it ends with, thank you so much for giving me somewhere to go with my story. I'm afraid of this being because I'm a woman and I don't go looking for it. It seems to be revealing itself to me, which is scary. I'll leave it alone if it'll leave me alone. Thank you, stay safe, and enjoy the outdoors. God's creations are amazing. Alright, you be safe too. And there are people out there who can give you some good advice when it comes to convincing these beings to leave you alone at your home, alright? Scott Carpenter's one for sure, if you want to look him up. And yeah, if you don't want anything, if you're scared of this topic, you're scared because they're revealing themselves to you, one thing I would encourage would be to verbally let them know your stance on this. friendship, relationship they're looking for, possibly whatever, and let them know how you feel about it and how they do not have permission to come to your home or to you, all right? Let it be known, verbally, out loud, and contact people that have experience in thwarting ongoing experiences around your home, or else at least helping you cope with it, all right? And I'm familiar with northern Mississippi, been around there quite a bit. Now, it can make it kind of awkward when people email into me, and I'm reading, and all of a sudden, don't share this part. Oh, man. Or don't share that, what I just shared with you. Oh, I gotta stop the camera and go back and figure it all out. Tough on the editing. So, in the future, for anybody out there who's thinking about sharing with all the people through me, only write in what you want to share. If you don't want your name shared, don't put your name. If you don't want the community where you work shared, don't put it in the email. It's easy, okay? Because it'll always screw me up. And sometimes I'll screw up and I'll share it anyway by accident because I'll read so many more emails and then I'll screw up and forget about it during the editing part, okay? Anyway, thank you so much for sending that in. And I hope you don't have any bad luck with it. I really sincerely hope you don't. Now, this next one is titled, Red Now. It scared my uncle to death. Howdy, Steve. First off, I'd like to thank you for creating this amazing channel. I've been a subscriber for a while now and totally support what you do to give folks a place to speak freely and openly of their encounters with the strange and the unknown. My name is Glenn Sasquatch. God, I hope I didn't just annihilate your name. Sasquatch. Seequuasis. I'm 60 years old from the flatlands of the central prairies of Saskatchewan, Canada. Feel free to use my name if you can pronounce it, or just say Glenn, 11 letters, LOL. I'm First Nation Cree. My story is one that was shared to us when I was 15 years old. That was told to me and my dad when we were visiting my uncle who lives on the Flathead Indian Reservation near Arley, Montana, USA, right in the heart of some beautiful mountain high country. My uncle, his hands and voice are a bit shaking. He begins to talk. I'd like to share a most incredible, frightening experience that me and a few buddies went through a couple of years back in '76. Did I read this? We went up this mountain trail road to go and cut some tall trees to use to make a fence. The road was steep and treacherous. We needed a four-wheel drive to make it up there. It was a bit of a chilly late fall day and snow was on the forecast. So we had to get in and get out before the weather moved in. So we cut down what we came for and proceeded to head back down before it snowed. And we will come back tomorrow to haul up the rails. The next morning, we headed back up the mountain. There was fresh snow covering everything. Halfway up, roughly 1 to 3 inches, nothing bad. We're the only set of vehicle tracks going up. No one was ahead of us, we could clearly see. When we arrived at the site and got down, there was this unusual smell in the air, like a wet dog mixed in with a skunk. It didn't smell too great. Right away, one of my buddies said, "Holy F, come and see these." There, right in front of us and all over the area were giant footprints in the snow, on top of the sawdust, stepping over the downed rails. They looked fresh. My one buddy said, "Sasquatch. He's near, I can feel it." My uncle said he was so scared he could hardly move and was shaking uncontrollably. Before they jumped in the 4x4 to get the hell out of there, he said, "Wait, I have a camera. I need to take some pictures," the one guy said. He showed us the pics and wow, the footprints were like 3 times the length of his work boots, and he wore a size 10.5. Holy shit. When they bolted out of there in the truck, one of his buddies was saying, "I keep hearing in my mind, we won't harm you, take what you came for and leave." Wow. But they never ever went back up there and left the rails behind. My uncle was so shaken up by that encounter that he had night terrors and bad dreams for years after. I've always been intrigued and captivated by stories like this after my 4 encounters of the unknown. 5 years old, grays. 20 years old and 45 years old, UFOs. Thank you, Steve. Sorry for the long novel. Please continue what you do and do for all who need a place to feel welcomed and are not ridiculed for their life-changing experiences. May the Creator watch over you and your wife and family. Thank you so much for that email, man, and same to you too. Same to you too. Now, you know that the crowd is going to be going nuts on you right now, saying, why didn't you share the pictures? Share the damn pictures. Go get the pictures and share the pictures. Right? So, if you want to, internet, or if they will share the photos and they want to share them with all the people here, I'll do it if you want to share. Okay? But just pre-warn, you're about to get gobbled up in the comment section below for saying there's photos and you didn't bring them along with your email. But anyways, appreciate your support and your kind words, and I'm very thankful that you're generous to share that with everybody through me, man. Sabe Manifestation in Our Realm. It's the title of this email. Howdy, Steve, and the entire H2H Army. My name is Chuck, and I'm from the state of Pennsylvania. I've been listening since the beginning of the 2020 PSY-OP that we still see the effects of. I won't tell you at the end of my email. I won't tell you at the end of my email not to mention my name, so don't fret, LOL. Anyways, I was listening to the Tuesday, April 11th upload, and I came up with a hypothesis that I believe I have never heard in my years of watching the round table grow with knowledge, power, and discernment. I was thinking about the manifesting of the Sabe being, and I think we all agree that these beings are using the electric fields in some way we don't understand or are lied to about the truth of in order to travel between realms / dimensions. So, understanding that plant life, mushrooms, and all manner of soil-sustained matter, including trees, and assuming they may travel through the quote-unquote circuitry of the trees, could these knocks we hear actually be a product of the Sabe's manifestation into our realm? Possibly. For sure it's a possibility. Like the click we hear when we flick on a stereo receiver, etc. I mean, we see the pictures sent in of how easy they can snap a 12-inch and lateral branch. So if the Sabe were to knock on a tree that loudly, would one think you were able to see the marks or damage created by the sound? Also, I sometimes think, when we are closely stalked out of their territory in these nightmare emails, and we hear their footfall right in our asses, could they be sitting up in a faraway tree laughing their ass off that they jammed our frequencies and made us believe we were being trapped? Like you say, take it or leave it for your jigsaws. Thanks, Steve. Keep up the superhuman energy. It is a godsend. Peace and blessings, Chuck. Okay, man. Thanks for making us get the wheels spinning between our ears, Chuck. Appreciate it. And everything you said is a very, very strong possibility. For sure. For sure. I think our questions are going to be answered. I am firmly believe that our questions are going to be answered. Okay, what do we got here? We got a long one. Hasn't been read. I'm going in. Now, mark this as read. More encounters from CJ. Alright. G'day, Steve. Speaking for all the people out there who you have helped on your channel. If we could all give you an hour of our time, the way you take time out of your day for us, we could fix your whole place of all the troubles you're having currently in just a few minutes, right? Yeah, probably could. Be a lot of plane tickets, wouldn't it? I gotta say, it's a good thing you always tell us listeners to write in if we have something to share who would help others out there. Because there's a lot of folks out there like myself who probably wouldn't otherwise. Essays were never my strong point in high school, but I try to include every detail of my experiences. I wish I could have crammed everything into one email, but my phone starts tripping out and freezing up when my stories get too long. I apologize for any typos ahead of time. My last encounter I shared with another friend of mine who is an avid listener to your channel and is the one who told me about you. One day in late spring, I took her in my old blue Chevy up into Washington. This area is Skamania County, where there are lots of sightings, and David Paulides is mentioned in one of his books. There's a remote area up in the mountains that I have gone for years with quads and trucks to the mud pits at the end of the trail. It's a long, slow process to get there and back, and I'm always keeping my eyes open around me at all times. I was always under the impression you had to be some kind of a medicine man to be able to call one in using the whoop 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 calls like I've heard in the mountains since I was a child. So just for kicks I thought I would try it myself and figured I would completely strike out. Well, up at the end of the trail, I parked my truck and we walked the remaining several hundred feet up to the mud pit area. This place has 3-foot diameter cottonwood trees, spaced evenly apart throughout the soft, sandy clay area. Further along, the trees are closer together and hillsides covered in thick vegetation. It was about 3 in the afternoon, with plenty of light left, although it's kind of dark up there because of the dense timber. I was goofing off and told her I'm going to smack a tree. It took me a few pieces of wood to get the sound I wanted, imitating the sounds I have heard. A good solid echo on the trunk of a tree. I whacked it 3 times. I was talking to her when suddenly up the hillside out of sight, something took 3 giant steps through the brush adjacent to us. Immediately afterwards, a boulder came crashing down through the woods toward us, bouncing off other rocks as it came. I thought it was a coincidence, and I was just hearing forest noises. So I repeated the 3 knocks, and again the same thing happened. 3 loud steps in the brush, and a large rock came bouncing down through the trees. I certainly thought it was strange, but still wasn't convinced that I could communicate with a Sabe. I gave up the stick, and we walked along a little further along into the trees where the ferns were. After a few moments of taking pictures of the hillside, I thought I would try imitating the whoop, whoop, whoop call as I have before. I cupped my hands around my mouth and gave 3 long calls that did sound pretty authentic. And surprisingly enough, up the hillside, I heard something again. Now, I've run a lot of heavy equipment over the years and know what a tree being ripped out of the ground with the roots attached sounds like. You can hear the twanging of the small roots coming up and the cracking and popping of them breaking off. That's exactly what I heard further up the hillside out of sight. Immediately afterward, we heard something bust the tree in half. I grinned at my friend and pointed into the woods saying, "He's here." I looked intently into the trees, trying to see if I could spot it moving around. It's probably a good thing she was with me, because otherwise I would have gone up into the trees looking for it. I really wanted to, Steve, because I have a natural curiosity for things I don't understand. Besides, from what I always hear, they supposedly know my intentions. My poor friend was not enjoying this as I was, and she was getting nervous, I could tell. I had left my shotgun in the Chevy, but I wouldn't use it on one anyway unless threatened, and I would probably just piss it off anyhow. Still, I wanted to make sure I was hearing this right. One more time I repeated the calls, and again it sounded like a tree, a much larger tree, got pulled from the ground and busted in half immediately afterwards. But why couldn't I see what was doing it? This is before I had ever heard about them going invisible, but I just wonder if that's what's going on when I can't see them. It doesn't make any sense. Your thoughts? I started thinking how far the truck was away, and I better not push my luck with this being. So, we headed back down, and I kept my eyes to the rear, all the way down out of there. Since then, I've gone back to the same place to look for them again, but no luck. Although I really can't say I've had the guts to call one in again, but it's cool knowing you can. Like for you, calling in a giant bull moose is what you enjoy. I want to see another Sabe. I've always openly discussed the topic of Sasquatch with my sisters, and my daughter as well. I want them to be aware of what's out there. Something that they will never hear be taught by our society. I also keep my daughter close to me when we are in the woods because of something else that's been seen recently. I have a friend of mine who recently lived near Yacolt, Washington, was going for a walk in the snow. As she was walking down the front walk, she looked to her right towards the yard and noticed something crouching by the fence, staring into the yard where her 2 young daughters had been playing earlier. Once it noticed her staring at it, she said it rose up on 2 feet, taller than the 6-foot fence, and darted off into the woods at a very fast pace. So fast that it was just a blur. She said it had the head of a dog, with a long snout and pointed ears and glowing eyes. She guessed it to be a couple of feet taller than the fence, and much larger in form than an average dog, and it was solid black. She said the speed it ran was incredible. No one could move that fast, especially in a foot of snow. A few days later, her oldest daughter, 12, came to her and told her a giant black wolf-like creature had been watching them through the fence while they were in the backyard, and felt as if it were trying to lure them closer to it. When they wouldn't go near it, the thing stood up on 2 legs, its shoulders above the fence, and walked into the woods. Neither of them ever saw the creature again, but no telling how many other backyards it was visiting. That was only 50 miles from here as the crow flies, but it makes me a little concerned if that thing could be around here. I hope we never see one, and I surely hope I'm armed if I do. We have a couple of guard dogs, but I don't know if they are much of a match for an 8-foot bipedal wolf. Back in the 90s, we had a pack of wild breeding pit bulls come through when I was a teenager, and they killed everything on the place except the horses, including my dog. They chewed through the grill of my '76 Ford pickup, tearing out the battery cables as well, trying to get a cat that was hiding under the hood. It took about a week, but we finally took care of the issue. And with some good old USDA approved beef and shit ton of rat poison. Bon appetit. I've never had a UFO sighting, but a friend of mine down in Lovington, NM, New Mexico, has strange crafts come through quite often. He has taken many pictures of them and shown them to me. Every shape, including black cigars, L-shaped craft that fly with one of the legs to the front, round balls, and typical saucers. He has watched one of them in particular fly directly over his house so regularly that he can sketch them out in great detail, but his camera stops working when it shows up. Back in the 80s, he was driving home from a wrestling match when a bright white light came down directly on top of the car, and that's the last thing that they remember. They woke up the next day back in their own homes with no memory of what had occurred. Still to this day, both of them say the same thing. As far as orbs, I've only seen one, and that is enough for me. I was living in South Carolina a number of years ago, and one night while I slept, I woke up to this floating white ball hovering over my bed. It was probably 18 inches in diameter, woven with strips of white light similar to that of a volleyball or a wasp nest. In between the strips, I could see darkness, and the whole thing seemed to be oscillating slowly. It was very white and bright, yet the light didn't brighten the inside of my trailer. It was about 12 inches above my feet, which made me uncomfortable because I didn't want any part of my body near it. I didn't dare reach for it, and I moved my feet away from that thing as well. At first I thought I was dreaming, but I looked around my RV and watched the time on my illuminated clock change. I closed my eyes and opened them again, but it was still there. I then decided I was awake, and now what to do about this uninvited guest in my house at this time of night. LOL. I was concerned it might be a demon of some kind, but yet I didn't have a feeling of fear or dread, so I figured it wasn't bad. Then I hoped it wouldn't turn into an angel either, because I knew I wouldn't be able to handle that. I just wanted to leave my house and be gone, so I closed my eyes and prayed, "Lord, protect me from this presence. In your name, evil be gone." When I opened my eyes, it had vanished and it didn't come back. Another lifelong friend once told me many years ago of a creature he saw roaming the forested hills down in John Day, Oregon, where he spent much of his childhood. Sadly, he had a very abusive childhood, and like so many other mistreated kids, he spent much of his time wandering the woods, anything to keep him away from home. One day he was hiking alone when he said there was an animal that walked on 2 feet and had the body of a bear, the head of a wild boar, and a rack similar to an elk. It gave him nightmares for a long time, and he told me about it some 10 years ago. It wasn't until all my recent sightings, and so I asked him to describe it to me again. I don't know anything about skinwalkers, but from what other people on your channel described have seen, this thing kind of fits that description. For you, Steve, I could send you a fuzzy Bigfoot picture, but you and me already know what they look like, so I will include some Bigfoot yells recorded on Mount Hood last year on my friend's phone instead. Unfortunately, there's that kid that won't stop talking in between the calls. Hopefully your phone downloads it. It's not good enough quality to share, but they are different sounding. I wanted you to hear it. Thanks, Steve. We appreciate your time as always. Please keep us informed of what you know about this dog man in the future. Thank you, CJ. Okay, man. Appreciate your email. Now, okay, you did send me something. I'm going to have to go back, find your email, and see where it is. Hopefully I remember to. Hopefully I remember. That was a lot. The dogman thing. The red eyes. Let me get back to the red eyes first. It just reminded me what I forgot when I left out the other day when I was talking about our eyes. Our eyes. And how we look at others. Whether it be in traffic, in the mall, in the sidewalk. Our eyes instantly go boom, straight to the eyes of other people. Right? Try to watch yourself in a way and look for it when you're in public. Alright, you guys? But we do. Now, this is just a quick little thought for me. We have had someone share in the past that some of the native tribes of days past would hold up their hand as in to say, you know, friend or foe, and someone mentioned that possibly they used to show their hand to show they only had 5 digits and not 6. I'm like, that caught my attention. I remember somebody saying that. And maybe that is a possibility. I don't know. I wasn't there. Now, when we look to somebody else's eyes, we always look at people's eyes first. Doesn't matter what we're doing. When we notice somebody driving, riding a bike, walking, we look at their eyes. Right? Are we looking at people's eyes subconsciously because way back in the day we had to see whether or not their eyes were glowing red or a different color? Is that a possibility? Right? You guys picking up what I'm possibly suggesting or putting down? Is it a maybe? Is it a maybe? Maybe, possibly, in our past, our eyes needed to see. We have to see right away, instantly, as a past survival thing we had going on. Did we need to see if someone's eyes were glowing a different color or not? It's a possibility, right? Especially as I'm searching, and you guys are all searching too for answers and trying to figure shit out, make sense of crazy stuff, because this whole lifetime is absolutely crazy. It's a possibility, right? It's a strong possibility because so many people are one of our major, serious, strong patterns here is the glowing eyes. They weren't reflecting, they were glowing, giving off a light. We've had bluish eyes, white, yellow, but they're red. They're red. The red eye, glow, eye shine, whatever you want to call it, has been mentioned so many times, and it's never really been a very pleasant experience either with the red glowing version of these eyes and the being that had them in their head, right? You never know. And another thing too, what I learned a while back, quite a while ago, I was flicking channels somewhere doing something. I never forgot this. I'm going to share this with you guys. It was a show where they were using wildlife to give an example to the audience of how they have proven that the babies in the human womb, the mother, possibly even the father, pass down to that unborn child their experience, their survival traits, their experience of terror or fright or whatever, tragic past experiences are passed down to the baby in the womb. I'm not wording it properly, I'm sure. But listen to this, the part that I do remember during that show, that's what they're talking about, human babies and what we pass on to them from our past experiences. Okay? They've proven this goes down. Now, they used in Germany, They used to have that Great Wall in Germany, right? Where it's dividing the country. And I guess during President Ronald Reagan was around when that wall came down. Anyway, where that wall turned to just electrified fence in the middle of nowhere through the forest, the deer in the game, the deer kept a wide, healthy distance away from that electrified fence, okay, while it was up. They tore that fence down, and it was like 3 generations of the wildlife, specifically the deer, still stayed away from where that fence was. They retained it. Passed down. It's pretty incredible, isn't it? So anyway, and for your curiosity of why I was using that information, I was passing on when I was creating my hunting apps and hunting information in there. I was trying to explain to people, especially sheep hunters, when you go into the same mountain, chasing after the same spots, same travel routes as old rams, and you're harvesting those old rams in front of all the younger rams, you're educating those young rams, right? And maybe even possibly the unborn wild sheep. And they are eventually going to avoid those areas where all these people keep on going hunting and shooting these rams. And next thing you know, the humans think that the game has been shot out. I mean, like, no, they were just educated, and they passed on that experience and knowledge to the next generations, and they learned to avoid that area where all you guys keep going. That's why I was interested in that topic, and that's why I passed it on and retained that information that I learned from that show, which is actually about how they've proven that traumatic experiences were passed down through the womb. Interesting. Bit of a babble, but it somewhat may sort of relate to me wondering if maybe why one of the details that comes with our eyes, and why our eyes must be far more special than what we are taught. I do believe that we possibly have skills we are not aware of that have been intentionally rubbed away from us, and I do believe that there may be a possibility that we look directly at the eyes of all others instantly as what may have been a possible self-preservation move in the past. Maybe, right? And these glowing red eyes and disturbing experiences may be a part of that. Maybe. Anyway, moving along. Who do we got? What do we got? This is titled Something Was There. Hello, Steve, from the commie state of New York. Hello, back from Canada-stan. I will start this by saying I used to love the great outdoors. My husband and I used to go camping almost every weekend on our long holidays. We didn't care much about the weather, and even camped in March, snow and all. If you noticed, I said used to. I heard you talk about the Tut Hill Plateau in New York, so I decided I would share my experience. Approximately 10 years ago, we loaded our vehicle up with our gear and headed out for the almost 3-hour drive. We got to our spot, which is off a side road, to a dirt road, then a barely there trail wide enough to drive on with branches scratching down the sides of the truck. It was around noon, and we set up our camp, collected wood, and started a fire. My brother-in-law was joining us a little later as he had some work to do. Fast forward to dusk, and dinner was over. The men cracked open their brews, and I had my iced tea, non-alcoholic. We chatted about life and things going on around our jobs, small chit-chat, and I with my eyes on the sky as much as possible. As time passed, I started to get a feeling of uneasiness, like we were being watched. As the husband and brother-in-law were pretty tipsy at this point, I didn't say anything. I didn't want to look around and make whatever it was aware that I knew we were being watched. For the first time in my life, I was happy that we had pitched our tent near a tall rock wall. As I went in for the night, I thought to myself, at least whoever it was can't sneak up behind the tent. They would have to go around the fire to the entrance. I never told my husband. I also have never been camping since then. I guess I just never got over the creepiness of being miles from people and having that feeling. He has continued to camp, but not like we used to. I didn't want to ruin his love for it. On another note, mind speak is real. Not with just forest people. Remote viewing is real. Spiritual healing is real. There are more things in this world than we are told. The crappy people running the shit show know it. Every single person on this planet has all those abilities. ESP is real. We are told from a young age that it is pretend, so that we forget over time. We never lose the ability, it just lies dormant. What do you think the Spanish Inquisition was about? Wiping out the strongest abilities. Jesus said if we had one mustard seed of faith, we could do as he did. Possibly, probably, something the church forgot to exclude from the Bible. Remember, we can say that we don't consent to this shit they present. A clear message, I don't consent. And for the people who don't understand, I speak for them as well. They don't consent. Think of it as think of it as speaking for a young child who doesn't comprehend what they are up to. I have so much more that I have learned along my journey that I want to share, but other voices need to be heard. I'll leave you with this. There is several cures for cancer. Cures that don't involve the devastating effects of radiation and chemotherapy. I'll have to find the doctor's name, I can't remember offhand, but we'll be happy to share what I know if you're interested. Keep it real, keep it safe, Cindy. Okay, Cindy. Wasn't too much of a Sasquatch mention in there, but the feeling that you had was definitely enough to knee-jerk you into sharing it. And I think a lot of people, what many people don't understand is the impact, the intenseness of the feeling of being watched, or even hearing the sounds without seeing these beings. The impact that it has is something else. It's not just, well, it's probably a bear. It's not like that. When people are feeling being watched from these beings, it is, I don't know how to describe it to get it across to people who are confused. Would it be described as soul piercing? I don't know. Strikes your frickin' spinal cord from head to toe. It's something that makes a massive impact on you and you don't forget it. It scares the shit out of you, and even some people are compelled to email it in and share with all you guys because it was such an intense feeling. But not everybody can type out a feeling and get it across to us in the same flavor what they experienced, right? But anyway, I'm always interested. You got knowledge that you think will help the people, and you want to share it through me, send it. Send it. I am open. I have accepted the fact that all we have is each other here. That's it. We're on our own. So, I embrace everybody and what they got to share. For sure. Send it, send it, send it. Now, trying to go get through of what's on this phone so I can throw it away. Make sure, I guess I've got some new ones on here too though, right? I gotta go down to the bottom. Alright, what do we got here? No title. It's titled Red now. First off, I've hunted and fished all my life. I've hunted or fished almost every day since I could walk here in Virginia. 90% of what I eat I've either caught or killed or grew. I also worked in the mountains for 14 years and currently still work outside 7 days a week, no matter the weather. I've seen every animal that's in the woods and fields of Virginia, which brings me to my experience about a year and a few ago. And for the record, I'm 39 years old. Never tried a cigarette, never tried alcohol, never tried any drugs. Never any kind of legal trouble. Never so much as a speeding ticket in my life. I just hunt and fish and work. I lease a mountain in Virginia. It hadn't been hunted in about 10 years when I got permission to hunt it. I did a job for the landowner, we became friends, and he gave me rights to hunt his mountain. I've had it leased now for about 5 years. I didn't hunt on it this year at all because of what I saw the last day of the 2018 bear season. I never really believed, or not believed, in Sasquatch or beings. I had never seen anything to fit the description my entire life outdoors till 2018. I got on the mountain that morning a couple hours before daylight. I got settled in, was hoping to see a bear walking through the long deep hollow I was sitting in. I see a lot of bear on the mountain, I have leased. It's only a hop, skip, and a jump away from the Shenandoah National Park. As the bird flies, I'm guessing 7 or 8 miles. Anyway, as the sun started to rise and the sunlight started to eliminate the darkness, I could hear movement a couple 100 yards away in the hollow. Daylight set in and I could see really good. It was not foggy or windy that morning. I caught movement of something big and brown from where the noise in the leaves was coming from. I watched it through my binoculars. It was in the brush in the bottom of the hollow where the spring starts. I knew it wasn't a deer because of its size. So I watched, thinking it was most likely was a brown-colored black bear. Well, it got within 100 yards or so from me. The thickness of the hollow opens up a lot, allowing for a better sight picture, and I realized it wasn't a bear. It was on 2 feet, but far too big for a man and covered in hair. My mind raced as I watched. I've had trespassers before on the mountain, but only twice in 5 years. It wasn't a man. It moved effortlessly up the hollow, and its movements were different. And it was collecting twigs. And it was walking. And as it was walking, it was breaking off the twigs, putting one end in its mouth, and splitting the twig by pulling it with its hand, and then do it again. In its left hand, it had a whole bundle of the split twigs. And once it was about 7 yards away from me, it froze, crouched down, and started looking around. I could see its face clearly. Then, as it looked up and around in the hollow, I knew then it was 100% not a human. Its face was almost hairless except on the cheeks. Its eyes looked jet black, and its skin the color of caramel brown, just a little lighter than the hair on its body. I'm guessing it was about 7 or 8 feet tall and was really muscular. I'm 6'5" tall, 240, and I know it was double my weight because it was so thick. I could see its hands clear. Also, they were hairless, but the skin was darker than the facial skin. I was and still am speechless. After about a minute of looking around, it whistled, like a groundhog does in Virginia. Not a whistle like the sound a man makes. Then something down the hollow started running. I could hear leaves rustle and limbs break. Then the thing I was watching stood back up and ran back down the hollow in the direction of the noise from what I'm assuming was another one. I never felt scared or in danger the whole time I was watching it. I was intrigued by what I saw, and I stopped hunting on that mountain, which I still have leased to let whatever that thing was I saw keep on living undisturbed by me. It has more right there than I do. I've told a few people. They just laughed, thought I was joking, and said, why didn't I shoot it? In truth, I could have if I wanted, but it was too manlike. Shooting it never crossed my mind while I watched. At the time, all I wanted to do was just watch it. I don't know what it was, but I'm 100% sure it was not a human. I don't know why it was collecting twigs or why it got scared. And I say scared because I could see its face. It got scared. I watched it for about 8 or 10 minutes total. 8 or 10, that is a lifetime in real world time in the forest spotting something alive. That's a long time. Everyone in my area of Virginia knows I have that particular mountain leased where I saw that being. And I do not want any local idiots disturbing the thing I saw. So, for that reason, I'm asking if you share my experience with everyone, please don't use my name. I want whatever it was to be left alone and keep on living. I hope to get the opportunity to see it again. Thanks for all you're doing. Thanks for all you're doing for everyone with these experiences. Wow. And there you go. A lifelong outdoors person spending their, quote, whole life out there, right? Never saw a thing ever, not an inkling, didn't even think the existence, didn't think of the beings, and then boom, in your face. Right? In your face, there it is. It's pretty wild that you kept your calm, and that is why you had such a very detailed observation of that beings, because you weren't scared, and you were more amazed and soaking up every little tidbit of it. That's a very good description, very detailed. And I am confident that I could say that that being felt you looking at it, and it was confused and caught off guard, and that's why it was crouched down. It could feel you, sense you looking at it, but it didn't sound like this being was too in tune with that skill and humans getting their eyes on it, right? Because other numerous other times when somebody sees something like this, and when the back has been to the person, the second their eyes went on and realized it wasn't a bear, they put on the brakes and they don't move and they try to be frozen. Meanwhile, it's too late. You already got saw. But they know with they're back to you in the forest. They know you're looking at them. Isn't that crazy what our eyes do? That's our eyes doing that, right? That's our eye power doing that to those beings. What else can we do with our eyes? What else could we do with our eyes? What else can we do? You know what I mean? Excuse me, what else can we do that we would think right now normally is impossible? Meanwhile, the impossible is probably a reality, right? Anyway, there you go. There you go. There are the shares for tomorrow. Why did I do it tonight? I don't know, I just kind of felt like it. Sarah made sure that I mentioned that I received this very cool item. Very, very cool item. Thanks again for sending that in. It's quite the amazing thing. Very kind thing to do. But anyway, share my story at howtohunt.com. That's how you get your emails into me, alright? And when you do share your emails, don't leave anything out. Don't think that it's too long, and don't think that you'll write it in again later on and add to it. Okay? Get it all out in one go. Okay? Please. Just get it all out in one go. And I hope that everyone here is digging themselves and looking for answers themselves as well, the same time I am. Okay, you guys? Please don't just sit there and wait for people to do the work for you. In a way, do you know what I mean? Like, don't just sit there and demand answers on your butt and not doing anything. This is a community where everybody's doing something all together in one huge effort, and this has gone a long ways. This place is very, very large, and a lot of information has come here. There's a shit pile of very intelligent, good, kind, honest, stand-up, kick-ass, free-thinking, independent people here. And everybody's trying to do their part, so please, dig. Instead of demanding answers, look for the answers as well. And when you get them, share them. Alright? I do know for a fact that there is a lot of answers are coming. I know that for a fact. Alright, you guys? So in the meantime, we keep everybody sharing their truth with each other here, speaking freely, openly, bravely. And we just keep going the way we're going. All right, keep going. Steady the ride. Steady the course. Right? Steady the course. Keep going. Don't give up. Don't quit. Don't let any insecure human herd animal, intimidate you out of speaking out loud or sharing it. All right. All right. I'll be back later with more.
you.